Here with Travis Wittlake Jr. about to do a little weigh-in interview. Travis, I've been following your career for at least the last few years. I used to live in Oregon, like following Oregon wrestlers. You're a three-time Oregon State champion. You've won Fargo. How many times have you won the Triple Crown?
5 times.
Five times.
Yeah.
Cadet bronze medalist, and you
hmm
recently committed to Penn State. Wanted to get a little bit of background about your wrestling, and then a little bit of what's going on now, and a little bit of where you see yourself going in the future. I'll just start off. How old are you when you started wrestling?
I was 4 when I started, and I mean, been wrestling ever since. So, and it's been kind of my life, and it's just something I love to do.
Was it something that you saw, or was it your dad who pushed you into it, or some other family
Um,
member?
well, my dad wrestled in high school, and so he kind of got me into it. I just started with my club there in my hometown, and kind of got going, rolling around first couple years, and then after a little bit started taking it more seriously and everything. So my dad was pretty much the main influence, and once I started it, I didn't want to stop. So
So, when you were a young kid, what did you like about the sport? What drew you toward the sport?
well, I mean, one thing I think for young kids is in order for a young kid to actually like something, they got to be successful at it.
Yeah.
So um,
Were
I
you
did
successful right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I was doing well right from the beginning, so it kind of hooked me. So, and then like my second year wrestling, my first year I only went to a couple tournaments, and I won a lot of matches. My second year I went undefeated all year.
This
By
is when
my
you're
first,
5?
yeah,
Yeah.
5, 6 years old. Yeah, 5. I was undefeated or the whole year, and so. I mean, I was having a lot of success with it. So I think that's just what, kept the drive going, kept me loving it. So,
Gotcha. So you were serious at a pretty early age. A lot of people who are watching this, maybe some Penn State fans, don't know a whole lot about Oregon wrestling. Can you tell us a little bit about the Oregon wrestling scene that you grew up in? You're on the coast, right? South Coast, Coos Bay
yeah.
area. Tell me a little bit about growing up in Oregon and wrestling there.
I mean, it's not bad. It's good. I mean, wrestling here on the coast, or even actually on the west side of the United States, really isn't that big. We don't have a ton of kids traveling, or our freestyle and Greco seasons aren't that big. So wrestling is just not huge, as it's not as big as it is on the Midwest or East Coast. So it was. I mean, it's good to see when I travel and I go to the East Coast, or like on my world team last summer. It was good to be around kids and see other kids with the same goals and dreams as me.
Uh-huh.
Because over here on the East Coast, or I mean on the West Coast, I mean you don't see a lot of that. I mean we
Right.
got some tough individuals, but I mean the West Side just isn't tough as a whole necessarily. So. I mean, it's been great growing up for me on this side. I love it. I love being over here, and it's been a great experience. But I mean, it's just awesome to be able to travel like I do. I'm fortunate to be able to do that. Unlike some other kids that don't get to travel as much as I do. So I mean, that was probably, I mean, that's a lot of where my success comes from, because I was always traveling and seeking out competition to get better.
So you undefeated your second year. How old are you when you started to actually travel?
Um, I went to Reno a couple of times. I was probably 7 years old. I was always in the top 3 at Reno. And then in 2008, I was 8 years old. I went to the Folkstown National Tournament in Iowa, and that was my first time being there. And I remember walking in, and it was in the Unidome,
Uh-huh.
so it was a big arena, and there was 25 full size mats. And I remember walking in, and I mean, it was an eye opener for me. And
How old were you? 8?
I was 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up winning it.
No
and
kidding. Dude,
that was
that's
a
awesome.
big step right there. That was a really big turning point. Like, I mean, to see me go out and just do well at a big tournament like that was, it was really made me feel good, and it was a really turning point in my wrestling career. So from then on, it kind of went back to that tournament every year, and I won it multiple times. And that traveling got more and more. I started seeking out other national competition, and I was doing well all over. So I mean, it just progressed from there.
So I just want to explore this a little bit. So your first major tournament, you win. How did you
Mhm.
sharpen yourself if you were crushing people? Did you just wrestle older kids at practice? Because it's not easy to sharpen yourself against silly putty. Um, so how
Yeah.
was it? Your dad? What was it, a combination of things?
Um, I mean, most of it was older kids. I don't. I mean, it's hard for me to find drill partners
Yeah.
over here, and it always has been. So growing up, yeah, I wrestled a lot with older kids, and whether it was high school kids coming into our club practices to wrestle with me, or middle school kids, or bigger, stronger kids, anybody I could get that could push me, I
Yeah.
would get in the room, and try to get as much as I could out of that kid that I was using as a drill partner.
Interesting. So I'm just going to jump into this a little out of order for me, but a lot of kids they like the winning, but in that gray area of competition, it gets a little scary. It sounds like you enjoyed that at an early age. Can you tell me where you got that competitive drive and that want?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. I
Did
think
you always feel that way?
yeah. I mean, I loved it. I loved doing it,
Yeah.
and I had a drive to win. I mean, after I think part of it was, my first year I did well, and so then I wanted to do it again, and then I was continuing to do well, and it just kept building and building and building. So, I don't think that even when I did lose, it was, something that I had to go back and work toward. So I think that, the success that I had when I was little just kept my drive going
Okay.
steady, and so. Yeah, it was great.
So, one thing I like talking about is kids who have their dads as coach. Can you tell me a little bit about that relationship and has it changed and evolved as you've gotten older?
Yeah, I mean, my dad as a coach I mean, I love it, having him as a coach. He's been my coach my whole life since I was 4, so it's always been good. He's taught me everything I know, and he's always been to all my matches, all my tournaments, and always supported me and travels with me everywhere. So he even went to the World Championships in Georgia last summer. So
Okay.
I mean, it's great to have him around and always being there for me. Um, and he wasn't. I mean, he was never the type to really push me. He always let me do what I felt, what I wanted to do, and he was just supportive with whatever I wanted to do, and getting extra work in or anything, and he was always there, always supportive for me, and now in high school, it's kind of became he's my head high school coach now, so.
Okay.
I think my 7th or 8th grade year, he got the head coach job at my high school, so that when I came in my freshman year, he was already the coach. So when he got that coaching job, and I came in my freshman year, it was a totally different world, kind of. It was like, I mean, I had success through my little years and through middle school and everything. So when I was an incoming freshman, it was like it was me and my dad. Our team wasn't good at all. I
Okay.
mean, our previous teams just were terrible. So my class was very good. We had a good group of club kids that were all my same age. So we all came in as incoming freshmen, and we ended up taking third at state that year. And
Wow.
so then from then on, it was like I had to be a team leader. I had to lead by example. I had to work the hardest and stuff like that. So, so that's when it kind of evolved. Because then it was just like me and my dad are kind of a duo now. I'm a senior next year, and me and him work together through practices. I run some practices, he runs practices. I show technique, he shows technique, and so we kind of got a good little duo going, and it works out well.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, everybody's got a different experience. It sounds like you've got a pretty good experience going on. What's going to be like leaving next year? Have you thought about leaving the club? And has your dad talked about it?
I'm excited. I can't wait to get out and just go experience some new things and see some different things. But my dad's going to be flying a lot. I can tell you that.
Right.
He's going to be definitely racking up some air miles. So, I know he'll be flying out to the East Coast a lot to come watch me wrestle and everything. And so, but he's excited for me. I know that he's super happy for me. And Penn State has been one of my dreams for many, many years. So, when we decided that I was going to go there, he was really happy for me, really excited. So
awesome. So being a really good wrestler at a young age, also having some family involved, coaching and having that dynamic. Tell me a little bit of how you deal with pressure.
Okay. Pressure.
Do you feel pressure? Do you have to call it a different word? What do you?
Pressure. I think everybody kind of gets some pressure on them, especially after having success. But growing up, I kind of went through kind of spurts of where I would let pressure get to me, or in certain big matches, I would kind of shut down because of pressure. I kind of shut down, wouldn't wrestle very good because of pressure. But that was something that I really had to work through, kind of in probably early middle school years, going to big national tournaments and everything.
What did you do? What was that like?
What
was that like working through that?
It was hard. I lost some matches. I was on like a 4-year streak of undefeated. I went to the national tournament one year. It was in 2012. I went to the national tournament in Iowa. I hadn't lost in 4 years. I was 298-0. And I was doing well, just wrestling tough. I was previous national Triple Crown winner. And I ended up losing at the national tournament that year, and it was a complete pressure thing.
Really?
I think it kind of all built up, and it finally hit me, and then I let it get to me, and I ended up losing a match there. I got second at the national tournament that year, and so it was a big eye opener there. It was a little challenge I had to work through, and it was tough. I went back home. I rewatched the match that I lost. I watched it one time, and that was it. Never watched it again. And that was all I needed to see. And I went back to the practice room and kind of worked through building my own confidence. Kind of started over on my confidence level, and when I started over, I made sure that when I was practicing, I was doing all my moves right. Just training harder, doing things before practice or after practice and everything. And now that I've worked through that, I think it was good for me at that time because I was still pretty young. It was good for me to get it through there rather than it hit me in high school, and have that happen to me in high school. So, it was good for it to happen at the time that it did, and for me to be able to work through it at the time that I had to. So, now that I'm in high school, I still feel pressure, but it's just the simple thing that everybody gets a little bit of pressure before big matches, So,
totally.
But it's also a drive, Pressure is a motivator.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can be at wrestling tournaments and I'm around wrestling. Maybe most of the time, if I go to like a little club tournament or I'm at a JV high school tournament or something that I'm not wrestling at, I want to be wrestling. I miss. It's kind of like if I'm not wrestling and I'm at a tournament, I miss the little pressure, the little nerves. So it's good for me to have it because it keeps me going.
You get nervous before high school matches
I mean, it depends on
the opponent?
the match.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends, but no, it's good for me, definitely.
I want to just go back a little bit. Watching the video, did the video after you lost? You mentioned you went back, watched the video one time. Did it match up with your memory? And do you use video right now at all?
The video did not match up with my memory.
Okay.
Definitely not. I had no idea what happened in the match. I was a completely different wrestler during the match, and so, rewatching the video was crazy. But it was, I didn't even really recognize what was going on. But I do use video. I go back and I rewatch my videos mostly to critique myself, not necessarily to study other people or anything, but mostly to just watch my footwork, watch my hand movements, my face, my level changes, stuff like that. So video's really helpful these days for sure.
And after that, you talked about trying to rebuild your confidence. Can you tell me a little bit of what that process was like? And to me, like the biggest transition for a highly successful wrestler into college, you may have to learn some new technique, but it's a mental game of being able to come back from lumps. Especially let's say the room you're going into. I know a lot of guys have told me in that room they haven't gotten a takedown for a few months, and they're national champions as freshmen. Like it's being able to rebuild your confidence or maintain it. Tell me a little bit about that because it's not an easy thing. And if you have any advice for young kids watching, I'd like to hear it. And if you've thought about what it's like going to be going forward.
Rebuilding my confidence was it was definitely a process, good process. It was something that I had to do, and I think it's something that everybody's going to have to do at some point. But it was going in. I had to. It was on me. It was something that I had to do if I wanted to continue being successful. And I started writing goals down, studying my goals, thinking about my goals, and that was big. Goal setting. It was my dad actually has these little goal cards made for us, and we write down for our whole team, and we write goals and we share them with our team. And so I'm really big into goal setting and working toward your goals. So creating a vision of where I wanted to be was really big for it. Building my confidence was a process where I had to be in the practice room as much as I could. And I had to be doing everything perfect to be able to reach my goals. I had to be staying after practice or going in a little bit early, and always continuing to work hard during practice, or even if I was slowing my moves down a little bit and making them, just critiquing something, making something, even if it was a one step or, a pull, snap, anything. Anything that I could do to, perfect some technique and get my confidence built in the practice room. I think it kind of starts in the practice room. If you're not confident in the practice room, then you're probably not going to be confident in the tournament. So it was definitely something that it had to start in the practice room, and that's where it did start. I had to just wrestle and feel free, wrestle freely, not worry about other things or external things. I had to think about where I wanted to be and why I wanted to do it. So, I mean, if I had to give advice to anyone else that was involving with pressure or nerves or anything, it would definitely be set your goals and create a vision for yourself, you know. And so, like, I mean, you could reference back to the movie Vision Quest, you know, the rest of the Vision Quest. I mean, something like that. You know, yeah, I mean, just setting a goal and working your hardest towards it, and you know, doing everything you can to be where you're at.
How old were you when you watched that movie first time?
Young.
Young.
Really, I don't know, but yeah, I love it.
Sweet. Thumbs up still for you on Vision Quest?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Some people don't like it. I think it stands up pretty well, and I just
Oh, yeah.
anyway. You've been traveling domestically up to this point, having a lot of success. Can you tell me a little bit about traveling to Tbilisi and the cadet worlds, and did the travel affect you? You said your dad went with you. A lot of times when guys leave the country for the first time, it can be not just pressure, but you know, the food and the time change, and you know whether or not there's hot water in the gym, and
Yeah.
what's
I think that I was more excited than anything. I'd never been overseas. I'd never been out of the country, so it was something that was I found very exciting because I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't know what wrestling foreigners was going to be like. I didn't really know what to expect yet. So I was excited. You know, I was confident. I was wrestling good all last season. You know, I was super confident. Felt good in my moves, and I was beating really tough kids. You know, I had a good tournament at Fargo, and so I was on a roll. I was doing well, and I felt good about everything, and I was excited. And then, you know, when we got over there, we had an area. We had a whole practice area, and I was able to watch. I was the second day. I wrestled the second day, so 5 of our team members, 5 weights wrestled the first day, 5 weights wrestled the second day. So I wrestled the second day. So the first day I got to sit and watch, like, I watched Kurt McHenry and Vito. I watched all those guys wrestle the first day. So, you know, it was good. It was good for me to watch that and see what, you know, the World Championships was really like before I actually got out there. So,
did you learn anything from watching the day before?
Hmm?
Did you pick up anything watching the day before?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the foreign style is a lot different than how we wrestle here. I mean, seems a little bit more laid back. I mean, they don't necessarily attack as hard as Americans do. You know, they're not steady in your face. They kind of sit back and wait for you to make mistakes. But that's only some of them. But so definitely, I mean, finger ties was big over there. You know, guys catching you finger ties and, you know, underhooks and Russian ties. I mean, it was all kind of a little bit different, you know, a little bit different. Still wrestling, but there were just some different things going on, and it was good for me to see and good for me to experience, and I loved it. It was great.
I'm not sure if you notice, one of the things I always find interesting, and I think it's because of the folk style background, most American wrestlers, when they're defending a shot, they think sprawl. International wrestlers, they don't have to control you, so they can chuck you from that shot. And it's, a lot of guys that's a new feel for a lot of guys. The hip stays in. Anyway, did you experience that at all?
I mean, yeah. I'm kind of a low ankle guy. I mean, I shoot lower singles or ankle picks or something. So,
like your future coach.
What was that?
Like your future coach.
Yeah. There was a couple times where I would get in deep on like a single or ankle pick or something, and I wouldn't quite finish all the way, and I'd end up getting rolled through. You know, lifted or a chest lock or something.
Yeah.
So, that was a little bit different, but I mean, just something you got to work through and learn how to balance your hips, balance your weight. So, you don't get chest locked or cross checked or something, and work on different finishes where you're finishing more clean and stuff. So that was something that, no, definitely I had to work through for sure.
Your goal is always to win. Looking back at that, how do you feel about that experience overall?
I felt good about it. I was proud. Um, you know, Again, referencing back to the West Coast, I was only the second kid from Oregon to ever make a world team, and no one had. And the first kid who had ever made the world team, he didn't medal. So I was the first one to ever medal from Oregon, so I mean, I don't know if people really expected me to do as well as I did. I was heading back to the World Championships, and it was a big deal. Everybody was super proud of me and everything, but I think that maybe some people kind of thought that was the end of the road. Like I made the team, but that's probably all I'm gonna do. So I figured that when I was coming home with a bronze medal, I mean, it was going to be a pretty big deal, and people were going to be excited for me, and I was going to kind of surprise a lot of people. So, that was a great feeling to be able to come back and medal after a tough loss. I ended up losing to the Russian, got owned in that crazy throw and pin, but, that was something I had to fight through and stay mentally strong, to be able to come back and win bronze. And seeing when you lose in those foreign tournaments and stuff, it was a big deal for the Russian to make it to the finals to pull me back into the tournament.
Yeah.
So it was big just watching him wrestle throughout the tournament, match after match, because it's kind of weird. He just pinned me, but I still got to root
for him, right?
So I can get back in the tournament.
Crazy.
So it's I mean that was kind of weird, but and he did make the finals, and so it pulled me back in, and I was pumped. I was ready to go. Kind of lit a fire in me. So and then from then on, I had 3 more matches and came out on top in all 3. So it was good.
I've heard you mention that you enjoy freestyle the most of the 3 styles you wrestle. When you're out there wrestling, like when you're wrestling the Triple Crown matches, do you ever get like in a spot where you're like, what style am I in right now? Or are you always locked in? Was that clear? Like, are you ever thinking Greco in a freestyle, or is it?
It's more of freestyle in a Greco.
Okay.
I'm not really a big Greco guy. I don't necessarily like Greco that much. I just did it to win the National Triple Crown.
Uh-huh.
So it was, when I'm wrestling Greco, like especially at Fargo, I can't wait for freestyle to start. I mean, freestyle is what I like, and so Greco was kind of something that I just had to get through so I could go to freestyle, So, I was still focused on Greco and everything, and still focused on winning a national title, definitely. But, freestyle was what I was most excited about, and I was more worried about Greco than freestyle. So sometimes I have a lot closer matches in Greco than I do in freestyle. So I knew that once I got through Greco and won the Greco national title, it was kind of relief. Then I was more relaxed and could go out. I was excited for freestyle, excited to go out and wrestle and score points, and so that's what I did. And Fargo was fun. It was great for me. I teched every kid I wrestled, didn't get scored on single point. So, it was awesome. That was super cool to be able to do that and go through the whole tournament and just dominate.
Going into your senior season, I'm putting your words in your mouth. You can correct me. You like freestyle the most of all the 3 styles you compete in. It sounds like because it's the most exciting, and you're very dominant at that.
Yeah.
If you can make a change to anything in folk style wrestling to make it more exciting or a better product for fans, what would you suggest? Anything?
For fans, I'd have to say, it depends on the level. I mean, at the high school level, if at the high school level, there's no riding time. So I mean, riding's not as common as it is in college, in D1, And I feel like at D1, you kind of see a lot of guys stalling on top, trying to get the riding time, which I'm not against riding. I mean, riding time isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a great thing either, but it is. And I feel like guys will get a takedown and they'll get the riding time point, and they're content with being right, and they'll lock down the match right there. And I feel like, some matches that are won on riding time, I mean, they're scoring points on holding the guy down, which you can use that. I mean, you can say that's scoring points, but I mean, it's not necessarily offensive points, so it's more control. And for people who don't understand the sport, they can't really see the grind or battle. If it's just an average guy watching TV, watching wrestling on TV, he can't really understand what is going on. When a tough guy's riding tough on top and the bottom guy's trying to escape. I mean, I think some people don't really understand that, so I mean, they don't want to watch it, But for people who do understand it, I mean, it's always fun to watch. But I mean, to make it more fan friendly, I would just say that the stalling on top to the D1 levels is kind of gotten a little bit out of control.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. If we watch you for a week in the practice room, what kind of wrestler are we going to see?
A week in the wrestling room.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much always the same. It doesn't matter if I got a big tournament coming up, little tournament coming up, or even no tournament coming up. I'm pretty much always the same in the practice room. I'm excited for practice every day, which is not very common among high school kids, for sure. But I mean, before practice every day, I go lift. I go lift right after school, then I go to practice, and then I run 2 miles after practice, a mile or 2 miles after practice every day. So, I mean, my drilling, it depends on who my drill partner is. If I got a good drill partner, then I'm pushing him hard. But I mean, I like to keep a steady pace all throughout practice. That's how. I mean, I like to stay in good shape and not. I don't want to go to a tournament and be gassed in my matches. So all through practice, I try to keep a steady pace no matter what we're doing. If we're doing sprints or jogging, stretching, I mean, it doesn't matter what we're doing. But I think high-paced drilling is big among getting in shape and getting your technique crisp and everything. So I'm kind of a high-paced driller. I like to drill my moves at a high pace. I like to drill hard. So that's something that I do every day, and it's very frequent.
Okay. I want to go back and just touch on something that you've talked about, having goals, intensity of practice. If you lose, like at the cadet world team trials or at WNO to the guy from Becca, do you go back and change anything up, or what do you do with a loss, just as far as your own training? Because it sounds like you've got a bunch of personal systems down. Do you adjust them, or you just think, I need to work harder? What goes through your brain?
I mean, I think I don't ever really change a lot, but I mean, there's definitely things that I can always get better on. I can always improve, and so I think it's just, if I lose, I got to come back and I got to get better. I mean, it's something. I mean, I can never be good enough at wrestling. It's always, I can always improve on something. So I mean, no matter what it is, I don't necessarily change a lot. I'm just working on the same things and working on getting what I'm doing better. No matter. I mean, pretty much just making my style, like taking my style, the way I wrestle, and I try to make it better. Year after year, day after day, doesn't matter. I take what I'm good at and I try to make it better and better and better. So, no, I don't necessarily change a ton, even when I do lose, but I go back and just try to do what I do and do it better.
So it sounds like staying hungry is not a problem for you. Is that because of the lofty goals or just an internal drive or a combination?
Little combination of both.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love wrestling, and I'm always excited to go out and wrestle, and I have a lot of fun with it. But definitely working towards goals, for sure. I look ahead to my future, and I look to where I want to be and what I want to do, the things I want to achieve. So
I'm going to get to those in a few minutes. I'll get to those. Is that all right? I'm going to ask you some goals. But can we jump one more question about this? What's your relationship with cutting weight like?
Me and cutting weight are not very close at all. I haven't cut weight in years. It's been a while. Last time I made a pretty hard cut. My freshman year, right after, I didn't cut my whole freshman year, the whole high school season. Didn't cut at all. I wrestled 152. I walked around about 149. And that was just my natural weight, so I was pretty light. And I didn't really have a reason to cut weight. I was winning where I was at, so fine. And I went to right after high school season. I got real big, hit a growth spurt, put on some weight, and I cut back down to 152 for the World Team Trials. And I had a real bad tournament. I didn't even place that year. I went 5-2. Lost my first match, won 5 on the backside, lost to the same kid in the blood round. So, that was a crazy tournament. So I haven't cut weight since then. Last year I wrestled 160 in my high school season, and I was walking around at 61, 62. And I wrestled 167 for 76 kilos at the trials and at the World Championships, and I was only maybe 171, 172. So it wasn't a hard cut at all. I wasn't really cutting anything. And this year at Fargo, I wrestled 70 last year. Wrestled 70, and I was real small for that. I definitely was wrestling some big boys. I could feel some weight difference, especially in Greco.
Yeah.
So I could definitely feel some weight difference at 70. So, but I was doing
weight
fine.
Difference meaning strength, like just
strength and size.
Okay.
Just body mass essentially.
Okay.
But I've always been healthy and strong, and so I've always won where I'm at, no matter if I am cutting weight or not. But since I got into high school, I don't really cut too much weight anymore. And I kind of just wrestle where I'm at, and I have fun with it. And I'm doing well right now. I'm doing well at the weights that I'm wrestling at, and so I just don't really have a reason to cut any weight. I'm not running from anybody, and it's not like, even if I am a little small, I'm still winning and wrestling tough. So I do fine with it.
Gotcha. So. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Mark Hall looked pretty small for the weight class in college. Watching, especially compared to Jordan. So it works. I don't know. A lot of it's interesting to hear people. It's sort of like a change in the mentality a little bit that seems to be going on right now.
Yeah.
Has your dad ever pushed you to cut or to not cut weight, or just leaves it all up to you?
It's pretty much all up to me.
Yeah.
I was constantly growing. Through my middle school years, and I'm still growing. I wrestled 170 all this high school season, and since high school season got over, I'm walking around about 181 right now. Okay. So I've put on some weight even in just this last couple months.
Right.
This is the heaviest I've ever been in my life right now. So, but I can remember going to tournaments and I can remember going to tournaments, and we'd be on the way to a tournament, and I'd get there, and maybe I'd be club tournaments or middle school tournaments or something. I would get there, weigh in, and there wouldn't be very many kids in my weight, so I'd always bump 2 or 3 weight classes and go up and wrestle. But
that seems to be a lost art these days. I love that. I mean, you kids used to do that all the time on the prehistoric days.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anything I could do to just go and get matches, and my dad didn't mind at all. And
do you wrestle your dad?
No, my dad's. When he was healthy enough to wrestle with me, I was way too small for him, and now we're about the same size, but he's too beat up for me now.
Yeah, I know he went through some stuff, and
yeah.
All right, I just wasn't sure if he ever felt like the urge to be out there, and
No, not quite.
Right.
But, no, for sure, yeah. I mean, yeah.
So you're going into your senior season, and obviously you want to be a state champion again, but you're looking past there. You've committed to Penn State. When you see yourself over the next 5 years, do you have goals written down for the next 5 years or longer?
Not necessarily written down, but I mean, I've definitely thought about them forever. I mean, college, going to a D1 university and wrestling has been a dream of mine since I started. It's always been in my head steady. And so the opportunity's finally here for me to go and wrestle the D1 level. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. So it's great for me to be able to go and experience what I'm going to experience here in the near future. And my goals are set high. They're set really high. And
want to share them?
Huh? Yeah, I mean, 4 NCAA titles would be amazing. That's always the plan. But I'm hoping to go and redshirt 1 year, put on some weight, and come in at the starting 184 pounder and go win 4 NCAA titles. So that's the goal. And then right after that, I got big Olympic dreams, big world championship dreams. I plan on wrestling to the extent of my career, wrestling as long as I can, and just filling all my dreams and goals. So, this is something that I've thought about forever and always kept in the back of my head. So, now that it's here, it's time to go and work for it.
All right, go get it. I know you're young, but in 15 years, where do you want to be? If you could write the script. You talk about the 4 national championships. There's a couple Olympic cycles in there, but you see yourself. Do you have another profession in mind after wrestling, or are you a lifer, or
if I was able to stay in the sport of wrestling or around it my whole life, that's definitely what I'll be doing. If I go and win a couple Olympics or even just one, and maybe get my own shoe one day or something. Every kid's dream. If that ever was to happen one day, that would be awesome, definitely. And then maybe take over a head coach job at a D1 program or somewhere along those lines would be awesome. If I was able to stay in the wrestling world, that would be great. That's definitely where I see myself, and that's where I want to be.
Gotcha. You verbal during your junior year. Can you tell me a little bit about how intense the recruiting process was for you? Was it fun or is it stressful?
A little of both. The recruiting process was great. My phone was ringing off the hook, steady.
Yeah.
And it was awesome to be able to get some recognition from coaches across the whole nation from many, many different schools. So that was a great feeling to be able to experience that, and because that's something that a lot of kids don't get to go through. So it was great to be able to talk to a lot of big name guys, big name coaches from all over. That it's cool to have their names in my cell phone. It's awesome to be able to experience that. But yeah, it was starting to get pretty hectic there for a little bit. I mean, it was steady that I was on the phone and always texting and calling coaches and so yeah, I mean it was crazy. But
Any advice for kids?
What was that?
Any advice for kids who are going to go through that in the next few years?
Any advice for kids? I mean, I'd say definitely pick and choose your programs. I mean, narrow it down to your top 5 to make it easier on yourself.
Yeah.
That's something I did. I had 20 plus colleges calling and recruiting me, and so I kind of narrowed it down to the top 5 in my head. I knew the top 5 schools that I wanted to go to, and then picked from those 5. Kind of looked at my options at those 5 schools rather than 20 or 25. So I mean, I'd say definitely narrow down your options before you start actually thinking about it. And, narrow down your options and then take a look at it and make it easier on yourself. That's definitely for sure.
Gotcha. So tell me some of the reasons you picked Penn State.
I mean, it's hard not to pick Penn State, and, they got 7 national titles out of the last, 7, 8 years, I think. Yeah. So, I mean, they're a phenomenal team. Kale's a great guy. I growing up through wrestling, Kale was my idol all through the years. He was someone I wanted to.
I just lost you. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kale was somebody that I wanted to wrestle like. I kind of made my style after him,
Yeah.
Definitely. So with some ankle picks and low singles, so that's somebody who I always wanted to wrestle like. Somebody I always wanted to meet when I was little. And
now, did you tell him that you emulated his style when you talked to him?
What was that?
Did you tell him that you were kind of emulating his
No.
style? No? All right.
No.
Kale, don't listen.
I was too scared to say much to him when I was little. But I met him a few times, and he signed a couple of my things, my headgear singlet when I was little. And so, and then when he got the head coach job at Penn State, and he was kind of showing he was kind of one of the first guys that kind of made freshmen be able to wrestle at the D1 level right out of the gate. I mean, you were seeing like Zane Rutherford go there. I mean, he'd walk on coming in as a true freshman and just dominating at the, he beat Bieber that year. He's just dominating at the D1 level, and that's getting more common. But I think that Kale was kind of the start of that, getting kind of watching freshmen grow in the Penn State program, getting guys ready right away.
Yeah.
That was a big thing I admired about the program. And when you look at it now, the drill partners there that are around my weight are phenomenal. Mark Hall, Vincenzo Joseph, Bo Nickel, David Taylor, all those guys that are going to be around my weight. When I go there, when you're training with guys like that every day, world-class wrestlers, national champs and everything, I mean, you have no choice but to get better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's going to happen. I mean, you're not going to get worse when you go there.
I heard Coach Cunningham's the guy you got to be careful about. That's what I've heard.
Yeah. But I mean, definitely. I mean, drill partners was big. That was one of the main factors. Is at me looking at schools is who are the drill partners that I'm gonna be wrestling with every day. What guys are gonna be pushing me in the wrestling room. So, Penn State is just got multiple guys that are around my weight that are gonna be able to, we're gonna be able to hook it up and they're gonna make me better. So, that was definitely a big part of it.
Do you have a relationship with guys in the room right now?
Yeah, like Mark Hall. Me and Mark Hall talk a lot. He was on the junior world team last year. I was on the cadet world team. and both the junior and cadet world teams were at the same world team camp at the OTC last summer. So I was able to get some. I mean, I wrestled with Mark Hall in the wrestling room at the OTC quite a bit, drilled with him. So, I'm definitely know who Mark Hall is, been around him a lot. So that's good. And I went on a visit out there last unofficial visit last October. So, I got to meet all the guys and I went to the NCAA tournament and seen all the guys there too. So just a few of them got a good relationship with, but don't know too many yet.
We talked a little. You got to go, or you good?
No, I'm good.
So you went to nationals. What struck you about nationals? Besides, you can talk about the Penn State performance or anything else. I mean, did it make you start salivating about being there, or other impressions?
It made me excited more than anything. The national tournament was great this year. It was awesome. Some crazy upsets, some crazy matches. So I think I lost my voice over Vincenzo Joseph's match, but
That's crazy.
there was definitely some crazy matches. So I was super excited to be committed to Penn State at that time. After they came out and they just dominated the tournament and did well. They had 5 national champions and everything. It was a good day to be committed to Penn State for sure. So I mean, it motivated me and made me really excited to be there.
Wrestling's got a lot of facets to it. You have your mentality, your mindset, your nutrition, your technique, your athleticism. Is there anything that you're working on coming back for your senior year or over the summer right now, or is that top secret, or is it just you're working on all of it? I mean, how do you approach this? Getting better.
I mean, it depends. Depends on time of year what I'm really working on. Right now I'm in a pretty heavy training mode, and next year, next year will be even better for me because I'll move up in age group. I'll be a UWW junior next year, so even tougher age group for me to get better at. Right now I'm training for the world team trials again, so trying to make the cadet world team. So I'm on a good nutrition plan, lifting hard, trying to stay strong and healthy. And
what weight class?
I'll be at 76 kilos again.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be 76 kilos. So, I mean, I'm excited for everything, and training's been going great, and it's definitely only going to get tougher from here.
Right. So, is that your primary focus? Is the cadet world team, and then the world championships, or is there any other competition going on that you're thinking about until school season starts or school year starts?
I'm going to go to the wrestle UWW juniors next week at Vegas.
Okay.
So I'll be wrestling that. I'm still cadet. I got to get a doctor's note, but
right.
I'm wrestling that. So I'm going to be. It's going to be great. I'm super excited to go and see how I do against some older guys. So
should be some loaded stuff over there too, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Good luck.
So it'll be good for me to go over there and wrestle, and I plan on going to Fargo this year. I'm just wrestling freestyle, not wrestling Greco at all.
Okay.
So I got my state championship, freestyle Greco state championship this weekend, and so I'm hitting some high level tournaments here throughout the year. I only got a couple more tournaments that are real spread out, but every tournament that I'm going to is a little tough, so it's gonna be good.
Are you good at other things? Like you fly fish or?
Yeah, I fish and hunt. That's one of my main hobbies I do every year.
Salmon? What are you fishing for?
Mostly just bass fish.
Bass? Okay.
Salmon fish a little bit, but mostly just bass fish in the summer just for fun. It's a good time. And I bow hunt for deer and elk.
Oh, nice.
I'm always hunting and it's fun. I played football. I played football through middle school, and after my freshman year I stopped playing. I just started focusing on wrestling, but I was a pretty good football player before then.
Okay, just a couple more to get before we get out of here. You and Roman Bravo Young came up with a video to a commit. Did you meet him at a world team camp or on the team? How did that transpire?
Actually, me and Roman wrestled each other when we were really little. In like 2009, I think it was.
Okay.
So I was 9 years old. He was probably 10. We wrestled at a tournament in Idaho, Pocatello, Idaho. We wrestled at the Western Regionals over there, and I beat him in Greco, and he beat me in Freestyle. So we kind of flip-flopped there. And then after that, we went to that tournament. You know, he was from Arizona, I was from Oregon, so we always seen each other at Pocatello. That was the only time we ever wrestled. That's the only time we were ever in the same weight. But, you know, every year after that, I would see him at that tournament, and I would always talk to him. So I've known Roman for a long time. And then when we both made the world team, it was awesome for, both of us to be from the west side.
Totally.
And, you know, be on the world team. And I really like Roman a lot. He's a good kid, good to be around. So, and when he told me that he wanted to commit to Penn State, I said, I want to too. So let's do it. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, to have him going there and me, it's gonna be fun. I'm real excited.
Last question, fantasy question. If age and weight didn't matter, is there anybody in history that you'd want to wrestle most and compete against?
In history, let me think about this one. I'd want to wrestle with either Kale or Jordan Burroughs.
Okay.
Probably Jordan Burroughs, just to feel some speed and strength that man has. You know, he's phenomenal. So, yeah, definitely those guys for sure.
Nice. Well, I think you're probably gonna get one of those two, and maybe right.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, I'm not sure what Burroughs' plan is. I'm not sure how high he wrestles up in weight, but play wrestling.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell the Penn State fans before we sign off?
I'm super excited to be a Nittany Lion, and I plan on going and dominating and always putting points on the board. So it's gonna be fun.
Travis, thanks for weighing in with me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.